And yet I did. Make friends, I mean. I didn't try to. I didn't even really want to. I mean, I have enough friends back in Brooklyn. I have Gina, the best friend anybody could have. I didn't need any more friends than that. And I really didn't think anybody here was going to like me. Not after having been assigned a 1,000-word essay because of what happened when I sat down. And especially not after what happened when we were informed that it was time for second period. There was no bell system at the mission school. We changed class on the hour, and had 5 minutes to get to where we were going. No sooner had Mr. Walden dismissed us than the albino girl turned around in her seat and asked, her purple eyes glowing furiously behind the tinted lenses of her glasses, "Am I supposed to be grateful to you, or something, for what you said to Debbie?" "You," I said, standing up, "aren't supposed to be anything as far as I'm concerned." She stood up too. "But that's why you did it, right? Defended the albino, because you felt sorry for me?" "I did it," I said, folding my coat over my arm, "because Debbie is a troll." I saw the corners of her lips twitch. Debbie had swept up her books and practically run for the door the minute Mr. Walden had dismissed us. She and a bunch of other girls, including the who'd had the empty seat next to her, were whispering among themselves and casting me dirty looks over their Ralph Lauren sweater-draped shoulders. I could tell the albino girl wanted to laugh at my calling Debbie a troll, but she wouldn't let herself. She said fiercely, "I can fight my own battles, you know. I don't need your help, New York." I shrugged. "Fine with me, Carmel." She couldn't help smiling then. When she did, she revealed a mouthful of braces that winked as brightly as the sea outside the window. "It's Cece," she said. "What's Cece?" "My name. I'm Cece." She stuck out a milky white hand, the nails of which were painted a violent orange. "Welcome to the Mission Academy." At 9 o'clock, Mr. Walden had dismissed us. By 9:02, Cece had introduced me to 20 other people, most of whom trotted after me as we moved to our next class, wanting to know what it was like to have lived in New York City. "Is it really?" one horsey-looking girl asked wistfully, as... She struggled to think of the word she was looking for. "As... metropolitan, as they all say?" These girls, I probably don't have to add, were not the class lookers. They were not, I saw at once, on speaking terms with the pretty tanned girl and the one whose fingers I'd threatened to break after school, who were the ones so well turned out in their sweater sets and khaki shirts. Oh no. The girls who came up to me were the motley bunch, some acneed, some overweight, or way, way too skinny. I was horrified to see that one was wearing open-toe shoes with reinforced toe pantyhose. Beige pantyhose, too. And white shoes. In January. I could see I was going to have my work cut out for me. Cece appeared to be the leader of their little pack. Editor of the school paper, the Mission News, which she called more of a literary review than an actual newspaper. Cece had been in earnest when she informed me she did not need me to fight her battles for her. She had plenty of ammunition of her own, including a pretty packed arsenal of verbal zingers and extremely serious work ethic. Practically the first thing she asked me, after she got over being mad at me, was if I'd be interested in writing a piece for her paper. "Nothing fancy," she said airily. "Maybe just an essay comparing East Coast and West Coast teen culture. I'm sure you must see a lot of differences between us and your friends back in New York." "What do you say? My readers would be plenty interested, especially girls like Kelly and Debbie. Maybe you could slip in something about how the East Coast being tan is like a faux pas." Then she laughed, not sounding evil exactly, but definitely not innocent either. But that, I soon realized, was Cece. All bright smiles made brighter by those wicked-looking braces and bouncy good humor. She was as famous, apparently, for her wisecracking as for her big horse laugh, which sometimes bubbled out of her when she couldn't control it and rang out with unabashed joy, and was inevitably hushed by the prissy novices who acted as hall monitors, keeping us from bothering the tourists who came to snap pictures of Junipero Serra being fawned over by those poor bronze Indian women. The Mission Academy was a small one. There were only 70 sophomores. I was thankful that Dopey and I had conflicting schedules, so that the only period we shared in common was lunch. Lunch, by the way, was conducted in the schoolyard, which was to one side of the parking lot, a huge grassy playground overlooking the sea, with seniors slumping on the same benches as the second graders, and seagulls converging on anyone foolish enough to toss out a fry. I know, because I tried it. Sister Ernestine, the one Adam, who was in my social studies class it turned out, had called abroad, came up to me and told me never to do it again. As if I hadn't gotten the point the minute 50 giant squawking gulls came swooping down from the sky and surrounded me, the way pigeons used to in Washington Square if you were foolish enough to throw out a bit of pretzel. Anyway, Sleepy and Doc shared my lunch period too. That was the only time I saw any of the Ackermans at school. It was interesting to observe them in their native environment. I was pleased to see that I had been correct in my estimation of their characters. Doc hung with a crowd of extremely nerdy-looking kids, most of whom wore glasses and actually balanced their laptop computers on their laps, something I'd never thought was actually done. Dopey hung with the jocks, around whom flocked, the way seagulls had around me, the pretty tan girls in our class, including the one I'd eschewed sitting beside. Their conversation seemed to consist of what they'd gotten for Christmas, this being their first day back from winter break, and who'd broken the most limbs skiing in Tahoe. Sleepy was perhaps the most interesting, however. Not that he woke up. Please. But he sat at one of the picnic tables with his eyes closed and his face turned to the sun. Since I can see this at home, this was not what interested me. No. What interested me was what was going on beside Sleepy. And that was an incredibly good-looking boy who did nothing but stare straight ahead of him with a look of abject sadness on his face. Occasionally, girls would walk by, as girls will when there is a good-looking boy nearby, and say hi to him, and he'd tear his eyes away from the sea, which was what he was staring at, and say, "Oh hi," to them before turning his gaze back to those hypnotic waves.